The golden light of autumn poured over the skyline of New York City, casting long shadows on the towering skyscrapers. On the 50th floor of the Hayes & Partners building, Nathan Hayes, CEO of one of the city's leading architecture firms, stood at the window of his office. The reflection of his somber expression merged with the vast urban landscape outside, like a ghost haunting his own success. At 37, Nathan had achieved everything he had once dreamed of: wealth, power, and prestige. People admired him. Rivals envied him. Yet, a hollow emptiness sat deep in his chest, impossible to fill. As he adjusted his navy tie, a memory from 7 years ago crept back into his mind. Claire Peterson, her laughter, her smile, her jasmine-scented perfume lingering in the air. She had vanished without a word, leaving him with questions that had never been answered. Today, though, was just another day. Or so he thought. Nathan's assistant, Erica, knocked softly on the glass door of his office. "Mr. Hayes, the team is waiting. The site visit at Eastwood Elementary starts in 30 minutes. Nathan turned away from the window, masking his lingering melancholy with the confident demeanor he was known for. "I'll be there shortly." The Eastwood Elementary School stood in sharp contrast to the modern architectural wonders Nathan usually dealt with. It was small, worn, yet vibrant with life. Children's laughter echoed through the courtyard as he pulled up in his sleek black car, feeling like a misplaced piece in this humble scene. Nathan followed the principal, Mr. Ellis, into the courtyard where a group of children were playing. That's when he saw her. The little girl sat alone on a wooden bench, completely absorbed in a book that seemed too big for her small hands. Her wavy chestnut hair framed a face so strikingly familiar that Nathan's breath caught in his throat. Her eyes, vivid green and filled with curiosity, were unmistakable. "She's one of our brightest students," Mr. Ellis commented, noticing Nathan's sudden interest. "That's Sophie Peterson." Sophie. The name hit him like a shockwave. As if sensing his gaze, the little girl looked up, her green eyes meeting his. She smiled, a smile that tugged at something deep inside him, something he thought had long been buried. "Hello," Sophie said, closing her book and walking over to him, her confidence both surprising and disarming for someone so young. "Are you the man who's going to help our school?" Her voice, sweet and innocent, sent a chill through Nathan's chest, as if unlocking a door he had long kept shut. Nathan crouched down to her level, his heart thundering inexplicably. "Yes, I am. What are you reading?" "The Little Prince," she answered with a bright smile. "My mom says it's about love and responsibility." Love and responsibility. Nathan's throat tightened as memories he'd fought to suppress rushed back. Claire's laughter, her dreams, and her sudden departure. "Your mother sounds very wise," he managed to say softly. "He is," Sophie replied proudly. "She works hard to give me everything, even though she's alone." Nathan froze. "Alone?" Before he could process her words, a voice sliced through the air. "Sophie, it's time for class, sweetheart." Nathan's world shifted. Standing a few yards away was Claire Peterson. 7 years had passed, but time had only added to her quiet beauty. Their eyes met, and for a fleeting moment, the bustling schoolyard fell silent. "Nathan," the name escaped Claire's lips, a strangled whisper of shock and disbelief. Sophie ran to her mother, oblivious to the tension between the adults. "Mom, this is the man who's helping our school." Claire hugged her daughter protectively, her gaze never leaving Nathan's. And that's when the realization struck Nathan like lightning. Sophie wasn't just Claire's daughter. She was his daughter too. Nathan sat in his office later that afternoon, staring blankly at the bustling city below. His reflection on the glass window seemed foreign, like a man unraveling. He hadn't been able to concentrate since the visit to the school. Sophie Peterson, that little girl with Claire's eyes and his own crooked smile. His hand shook slightly as he opened the bottom drawer of his desk, pulling out a photograph that had been hidden there for years. It was Claire, smiling, carefree, her wavy chestnut hair caught in the breeze. The corners of the photo were frayed from being handled too often. "You left, Claire?" he whispered into the silence. "Why didn't you tell me?" Nathan's mind drifted back to 7 years earlier, to the night when his life, and Claire's, had fallen apart. It had been late, and Nathan had been finalizing a major deal that would secure his company's future. Claire, then his closest colleague and confidant, had promised a surprise celebration. What she hadn't expected was to walk in and see Olivia Harris, the firm's ambitious competitor, leaning in to kiss Nathan through the glass door of the conference room. Nathan had pushed Olivia away immediately, disgusted by her attempt to manipulate him. But Claire had already turned and left, her expression one of betrayal and devastation. He hadn't even realized she'd seen the kiss until the next morning, when she disappeared without a word. Nathan searched for months, calling mutual friends, even hiring investigators, but Claire had vanished completely. At that same moment, across town, Claire sat at the small dining table in her modest apartment, watching Sophie color her latest masterpiece. The room was warm and lived in, its cream-colored walls decorated with photos of Sophie's milestones over the years. Claire's phone buzzed. It was Olivia, her best friend and confidant since college. "Claire," Olivia's voice was low, almost accusing. "He found her, didn't he?" Claire's hands trembled as she held the phone to her ear. "Yes, today, at her school." There was a long pause before Olivia replied softly. "And what did he say?" "Nothing. He didn't need to." Claire looked towards Sophie, who was humming happily, completely unaware of the storm brewing. "He knows, Liv. I could see it in his eyes." Claire's mind snapped back to the present as she stood in the kitchen, preparing Sophie's favorite macaroni and cheese. The familiar movements of stirring the pot didn't stop her thoughts from spiraling. She remembered that night vividly, the positive pregnancy test burning a hole in her handbag, the excitement she'd felt to share the news with Nathan. And then, that kiss. The kiss that shattered her trust and sent her running. "Mom, can we read The Little Prince again tonight?" Sophie's voice broke through Claire's thoughts, full of innocence and joy. Claire forced a smile. "Of course, sweetheart. Her daughter deserved happiness, a stable life. And for the past 7 years, Claire had given her exactly that, even if it meant sacrificing everything else, including the love she once thought was unshakable. But now Nathan had found them, and Claire knew deep down that she couldn't run forever. The knock on Claire's door came late in the evening. She froze mid-step, her pulse quickening. Nathan, she knew it would be him. "Mom, someone's at the door," Sophie called out from her bedroom. "I'll get it," Claire said quickly, smoothing her hands over her jeans as if the action could calm her nerves. Peering through the peephole, her worst fear was confirmed. Nathan Hayes stood in the dim hallway, looking every bit the polished CEO. But his posture was tense, his shoulders carrying the weight of 1,000 unanswered questions. "Claire," Nathan's voice was low but firm when she finally opened the door. "We need to talk." Claire hesitated, her fingers gripping the edge of the door. "Now's not a good time, Nathan." "It hasn't been a good time for 7 years. His tone was sharp, though his eyes softened when he added, "Please." Claire glanced back towards Sophie's room before stepping aside. 10 minutes, Nathan." The apartment felt unbearably small with Nathan standing in the living room. He took in the photos of Sophie on the walls, her toys scattered neatly in the corner. This was a world he hadn't known existed, a world that had been kept from him. "You knew," he said finally, his voice quieter now, "at the school today. I saw it in your eyes. You knew the moment you saw me." Claire folded her arms across her chest, a defensive gesture. "What do you want, Nathan?" "What do I want?" He laughed bitterly, shaking his head. "I want to know why. Why did you leave? Why didn't you tell me I had a daughter?" "Because you made your choice," Claire snapped, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and hurt. "Do you have any idea what that night did to me, Nathan? I trusted you. And then I saw—" She swallowed hard, the memory still raw. "I saw you with Olivia Harris. You let her kiss you." Nathan's brow furrowed in confusion. "Claire, what you saw wasn't real. Olivia kissed me, yes, but I pushed her away. It was a setup, her attempt to manipulate me into aligning with her for the promotion. I wanted nothing to do with her." Claire shook her head, tears brimming in her eyes. "I couldn't take that chance. You were so focused on the company, on building your empire. I was afraid that telling you about the baby would ruin everything for you, that you would resent me, or worse, resent her." Nathan took a step closer, his voice soft but firm. "You didn't give me a choice, Claire. You ran. I spent months searching for you, calling, looking for any trace of where you'd gone." Claire's resolve faltered. She looked away, her voice barely above a whisper. "I thought I was protecting her. Protecting both of us." Nathan's gaze fell on a framed photo of Sophie, her green eyes shining with joy. "She's my daughter, Claire. I deserve to know her, to be part of her life." Claire hesitated, the weight of his words pressing against her. "And what happens when your world comes crashing into hers, Nathan? Your business, the media, the scandals, that's not the life I want for her." "I won't let that happen," Nathan replied firmly. "I'll protect her. And I'll protect you too. You don't have to do this alone anymore." Before Claire could respond, Sophie appeared in the doorway, her small voice cutting through the tension. "Mom? Mr. Hayes? Why are you arguing?" Claire quickly wiped away a tear, crouching down to her daughter's level. "We're just talking, sweetheart. It's okay." Nathan crouched beside them, his gaze softening as he looked at Sophie. "Hey, Sophie, I'm sorry we were loud. You know, your mom and I have a lot of catching up to do." Sophie tilted her head curiously. "Are you going to stay for dinner? We're having macaroni and cheese. It's my favorite." Nathan smiled faintly, glancing at Claire, who looked conflicted. "I'd like that, Sophie. If it's okay with your mom." Claire hesitated, searching Nathan's face for any trace of insincerity. Finally, she let out a small sigh and nodded. "You can stay." As Sophie ran excitedly back to the kitchen, Nathan met Claire's gaze. "This isn't over, Claire. I'm not walking away again." Claire turned to follow her daughter, her heart pounding. Nathan's words echoed in her mind, full of promises she wasn't sure she was ready to believe. The next morning, Nathan arrived at the office to chaos. Headlines flashed across every news screen. CEO Nathan Hayes' hidden daughter revealed. Photographs of Sophie at school and snippets of speculation flooded the internet. It was a scandal tailor-made to damage Nathan's reputation, orchestrated by none other than Olivia Harris. Nathan's assistant, Erica, rushed into his office, panic in her voice. "Mr. Hayes, the board is calling an emergency meeting. Olivia's team leaked everything." Nathan's jaw tightened. He had expected this. Olivia's vindictiveness knew no bounds. "Schedule the meeting. I'll be there." At Claire's apartment, the tension was unbearable. Claire scrolled through news articles on her phone, her face pale. Sophie, oblivious to the storm outside, sat at the table drawing a picture. "Mom, can Mr. Hayes come to my school play tomorrow?" Sophie asked, looking up with hopeful eyes. Claire opened her mouth, but no words came. How could she shield her daughter from this? A knock at the door startled them both. Claire hesitated before opening it, revealing Nathan. His face lined with exhaustion, but his eyes full of determination. "They've gone too far, Claire," he said, stepping inside. "We can't let them control this narrative." Claire shook her head, fear in her voice. "Nathan, this is exactly what I was afraid of. The media, the scrutiny. Sophie doesn't deserve this." Nathan knelt beside her, his voice gentle but firm. "Listen to me. I promise you, I will fix this. I'll protect her. I'll protect both of you." Claire met his gaze, searching for any hint of doubt, but there was none. For the first time, she saw not just a CEO, but a father, a man willing to fight for his family. "Okay," Claire whispered, her voice trembling. "What do we do?" Nathan stood tall, resolve hardening in his expression. "We stand together." The press conference room at Hayes & Partners was filled to capacity. Reporters murmured anxiously as cameras focused on the stage where Nathan Hayes stood, flanked by Claire and Sophie. "Thank you all for coming," Nathan began, his voice calm but resolute. "For years, my career has been built on integrity and transparency. Today, I won't let lies define my family." He paused, glancing at Sophie, who sat beside Claire, holding tightly to her hand. "This is Sophie," Nathan continued, his voice unwavering yet full of tenderness. "She is my daughter, and the truth? I didn't know about her until recently. Claire Peterson. The woman I love, the woman who sacrificed everything to protect our child, made a choice she believed was right. I understand that choice, even if it cost us time we can never get back. But today, I choose to fight for my family, for Sophie, and for the future we all deserve." A gasp rippled through the room as Nathan turned to Claire. "But today, I'm choosing to fight for my family." Claire met his gaze, her eyes shimmering with tears. In that moment, the years of hurt and misunderstanding seemed to dissolve, replaced by something stronger: hope. The next afternoon, Sophie's school play unfolded in the small auditorium. Nathan sat in the front row, beaming with pride as Sophie recited her lines perfectly. When she finished, she looked out into the crowd, her green eyes finding Nathan. "Did you see me, Mr. Hayes?" she asked, her green eyes shining as she ran into his arms. Nathan crouched down, his heart swelling with pride and love. "I did, Sophie, and you can call me Dad now. I'd like that more than anything." Sophie's face lit up with the brightest smile Nathan had ever seen. "Okay, Dad." Claire stood nearby, smiling through her tears as she watched her daughter's face light up. In that moment, they were no longer a family broken by the past. They were a family starting fresh, stronger than ever. Sometimes, love isn't about perfection. It's about forgiveness, about finding the strength to rebuild what was broken. Nathan and Claire's story reminds us that even after years of misunderstandings, second chances can lead to beautiful new beginnings. But let me ask you, if you were Claire, would you open your heart to Nathan again, or would the fear of getting hurt keep you from giving your child the family they deserve? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more emotional and inspiring stories. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.